All right, so the first thing we want to talk about, for those of you who have not seen it as of yet, if you look at the upper toolbar here, you would have seen that the marketing link has gone. Well, it looks like it's gone, but it's actually under the More section. For those of you who are still looking for it, it's under More, and you can still access the old marketing area. However, the new module that's been introduced is Agency Intelligence. This is the first step of many for us to include intelligence in QQCatalyst that makes it easier for you to not only pursue new business, but for you to service in your existing book of business. This is the marketing section upgraded maybe 10 times. For those of you who are wondering, well, what's the difference between this and the old marketing section? It all has to do with the intelligence that's built into the system. Right now, the marketing section, whenever you would have to build a distribution list, the system would have to run a query every single time to find people that are part of a list. But as an agency administrator, you couldn't do things that are based on a trigger. That's the biggest difference between the two sections. This is trigger-based actions that are being predefined by the agency administrator. So you can say things like, whenever a policy is approaching expiration, I would like an email to be sent to the customer 90 days before the expiration of the policy. I'd like a task created for the CSR or the agent to contact that customer 60 days before the policy expires. Then I want a follow-up email sent to the customer again 30 days before the policy expires, letting them know that we're working on it. And then 3 more tasks for my agent and CSR to not only confirm that they received the renewal quote or the renewal application, but they actually renewed the policy. So you're going to be able to, based on defined triggers, predefined triggers, set up workflows that are going to be followed automatically by the system without you having to do anything. This trigger-based type of automation is what we're leaning towards in QQCatalyst to make it easier for you to service your existing book of business and do things like, let's just say you have a brand new customer. The system can automatically send out an email whenever you have a brand new customer, whenever that customer signs up for a brand new policy, and we're going towards the service automation to make it seem, or at least that the management system serves as an employee that's working for you every day of the week at every possible time. So that's what we're really going for here with this agency automation. As you can tell, we already have a couple of smart flows defined for you, and we chose that name because it's a workflow, but it's a workflow done smarter, helping you to be more efficient. So you can round out your business with cross-selling, so you can automatically set up, if I have any customers that have personal auto, but they don't have homeowners, I want these 4 sets of emails sent to them. They're going to receive these campaigns from the agency automatically once they meet this certain criteria. Things like X dates, rounding out your book of business for that person that not only maybe have a commercial policy with you, but they don't have a personal auto policy with you, or the person that called you for a flood quote, and they said, well, listen, actually give me a call about that, and maybe in around December, you can set up an X date to follow up on that. The system can automatically send out these automated emails as well as tasks for your staff. What about when you give someone a quote, and that quote didn't result in you writing the policy? The system can automatically send out automated emails as well for quote follow-up. The other ones that are remaining are the ones that have to do with service, the expiring policies, thanking people when they renew their policies with you, as well as welcoming new customers. Now we're going to be adding more and more to this agency automation, the service automation, more of these categories for you to be able to service your customers automatically. Now one of the things that I would recommend is if you want to be a part of this, as you saw when I first came into this section, there was a pop-up that asked for you to sign up if you want to be included in the beta. If you'd like to be included, please click there to sign up, and you'll get more information as the beta program gets started. Now, excuse me, the engine that we're using for this section is going to be rolled out also in our sales pipeline functionality, as well as when we go into you defining workflows. That's one of the biggest requests that we've gotten, that you want to be able to define, whenever this thing happens in the management system, I want these 7 things to happen. The engine that was built to run this will be the same engine being used for that. So all of the things that you guys have been requested for automated workflows, all of those things are closer than they've ever been because we've done the hardest part of the work. So we're excited for all of those, all of you who are really excited about this, this beta feature. Again, sign up on that screen. As soon as you got on the agency intelligence page, you'll see the pop-up asking if you'd like to be a part, for you to sign up. And you'll be getting email updates if you are if you're selected to be part of the beta, and we're definitely going to appreciate whatever feedback you can share with us, because we truly want Catalyst to be the all-in-one solution that helps you to service your existing book, as well as increase your new business customers. All right, so that's agency intelligence. The second thing I wanted to talk to you guys about was the integrated rating. You have seen a couple of press releases from Vertafore concerning the integrated rating. It is right now starting in beta for all of our California agents, the agencies that are in California that are also using FSC. Now, it's not going to stay in California. That's where we're starting our beta, but eventually we're going to roll in integrated rating for all of the states where you can actually quote your personal auto policies within QQCatalyst without leaving. I think this is going to be great added value for all of you that do heavy personal auto, because you no longer have to bridge information from one system to the next, and then you won't have to start in one place and try to end up with the information in another place. All the information that you currently have inside of Catalyst, all you're going to have to do is click a button. In this case, let's just call that button Quick Quote, or to quote. It's going to open up the quoting screen, and you're going to be able to see comparative rating quotes from whatever number of companies you have relationships with, and then you'll be able to save those quotes directly in the management system without ever having to leave. Okay, so I think it's going to be a great feature for those of you that do personal auto. If you haven't already, you can send an email to productmanagement@qqsolutions.com if you're in the state of California right now and you're using FSC and you'd like to be a part of the beta program. So now let's go into Catalyst. One of the things that I notice our customers do often is when they're looking for policy information for a customer, they come to the search screen, they search for the customer, they click on the contact's name, and then they click on, excuse me, then they click on the Policies tab and they scroll and look for the policy. Just wanted to make sure that you all knew that directly on the search screen you can access the policy information by clicking on this green arrow, and you can view the policy information directly from here, and you can navigate to the policy by simply clicking on the policy line. All right, so these are small changes, but they do add up throughout the day. If you go from 3 clicks to 1, or if you go from 5 clicks to 1, it'll save you a lot more clicks throughout the day. Just trying to help to be a lot more efficient. Okay. And by the way, if the person has a lot more policies than you're seeing here, in this case, this person has a lot of policies with me, you can click on the page numbers here to go to the very next policy in the list. The next thing I wanted to show you is accessing details of your policy without having to click into every single policy. This is something that we released last year, probably around the March timeframe last year, where right now you're looking at the policy list. It says View by Policy List. You can click on that drop down and you can view all of the drivers insured on the policies, locations, as well as vehicles. And you can see exactly which policy they're insured on. Right, so here are all the drivers insured on active policies. Now, it is very important to note that this is information on the active policies. So we didn't want things to get so bogged down with information by having the same list of drivers listed for all of the policy terms that you've insured for them. So it's only for the active policy term. Here are all the drivers insured. Here are all the locations insured on the active policies with the policy information right next to it. And if you click to view it, it'll actually navigate to the policy, as well as the vehicles that are insured on all the active policies. And again, this is one of those requests that we get inside the feedback all the time. Hey, it'd be great if you guys can show me that information. Wanted to make sure you knew it was already there for you. Okay, so now let's move over to ACORD 25. For the people that do commercial, you do general liability, workers' comp, excess liability. We have this, we really went into great detail to make sure the issuing of certificates of insurance was going to be an easy process for you. I'm going to walk you through every single thing we've done to make sure you can issue ACORD 25 easily. First, on your certificate holder and your lien holder contacts, I'm going to go here to the Building Department of Palm Beach. So here in the Building Department of Palm Beach, in the basic contact info section, we added an ACORD type when it came to the email, because whatever email address you put there and you select ACORD, when you import this certificate holder into a certificate, the email address will automatically come in for you, so you can easily email them directly without having to go looking for their email address. So if you haven't done so already, make sure as you add your certificate holders and your lien holders, you add an ACORD email for them, which in a lot of cases is proof of insurance at whatever the domain is.com. Make sure it's not just the one person, just in case that person no longer works at the department. most of these places typically have an email address for evidence of insurance, so you definitely want to add that into the system. So that's one, making sure you put in the email address or proof of insurance always goes to. But the very next section here, ACORD description, this is where you can put in that description, that insured clause that goes with the certificate of insurance, so you don't have to type it up every single time. Now, this may not be the case if you're sending the person your certificate one time. You may not want to add them as a certificate holder or lien holder contact. But for the contact that you always send proof of insurance to, especially on multiple customers, you want to add them in as a contact and copy that long ACORD description in here. That way, when you import the certificate holder on your ACORD 25, the description comes with them, okay? Especially for those people that have those long additional insured clauses with the primary non-contributory base verbiage and the additional insured via CG 2010, all of that verbiage. You don't have to keep typing it up every single time or even copying and pasting. Let us do that for you. We'll map it for you so long as it's in this field. So now let me go to my commercial customer, Family Fresh Supermarket. This is my highest paying customer, by the way. I got a lot of commission off of Family Fresh. People ask me all the time, how come I use them in the webinar all the time? They pay a lot of commission. Okay, so now I'm going to add my ACORD form. Don't forget that you can add an ACORD form to the contact specifically where it's not related to a policy, or you can go into a policy specifically. In this case, I'm just going to select my general liability policy as the policy that's linked to it. And then you're going to get the policy selection screen. On the policy, actually first let me select my 25, and then I'm going to see my policy selection screen. Now, we don't automatically fill this in with every single possible policy that can go on it. Reason being, we don't know if you're issuing this for just one line of business or multiple lines of business. Instead, what we've done is made it easy for you to select which policies go where. So here, the general liability policy I was on is automatically here. I can click to change the information, or I can select all the other policies that I'd like filled into the sections. So in this case, I have a commercial auto policy. Let's get the commercial auto in there. I have an umbrella excess policy. Let's get that in there. My workers' comp. And by the way, in the areas that share lines of business, like commercial auto, whether it's commercial auto or truckers, you'll see both those policies in the list. Umbrella and excess, you'll see both of those in the list as well. And then workers' comp, if you have employer's liability, both of those are going to be showing up as well. So you can see workers' comp and employer's liability in the same pop-up. And in this last section, the other section, you can select whatever other policy you want represented in this area. Now, one of the questions I get most often is, Dickinson, how come you don't allow me to put multiple lines of business in here? It's more of a restriction of the ACORD form itself. The ACORD form, although on the top it allows you to put carriers A through F, it only gives you one line on that bottom field. We have been in contact with ACORD to try to get them to modify the ACORD form to give us more lines on that form. But just in case you're wondering, how come QQ is limiting me? It's not a QQ thing, it's an ACORD thing. But we will be working with them to try to get more lines added to the form. So now, after you select all of your policies, when you get to the ACORD form, all of the policy information and your customer information, meaning their name and their address, all of that will be mapped over for you. One of the things that I notice that agents do often, and I guess it all depends on your agency workflow. I've seen agents come down in this section, they type a description of operations, and they type one holder, and they save and close the form. You can do that. I don't recommend that you do, because when it comes time for renewal and you need to send your customer that huge list of certificate holders to find out who you need to send proof of insurance to, you're going to have to print one for every single certificate that was issued during the policy term. Instead, what we recommend that you do is come here and click on Manage Certificate Holders. This allows you to add as many certificate holders to the certificate of insurance as you want to, and then at renewal, you can print off one big master list of all the holders, and your customer can check off or mark off whichever ones don't need to be sent proof of insurance this year. Now, let's start with the basics here. If you want to just add a holder, manually add a holder, it's not part of your certificate holder or lien holder list, you didn't send them proof of insurance last year, you're just going to click on Add Holder here. Let's add a certificate holder. Let's say City of Boynton Beach. Let's make that to the attention of the building department. 101 South 10th Street. Make this Boynton Beach. Now, if I had an email address that was saved with the certificate holder, when I import it, that email address will automatically populate here. Or I can just type it in here, proof of insurance at cityofbb.com. And then you can add whatever description of operations goes with this certificate. City of Boynton Beach is additional insured on a primary and non-contributory basis. Okay. And then when you click OK, and you come back down here, you're going to see the information for the holder, and it's not editable on the form. That's because any edits are going to happen directly in this section. Okay? And make sure that you're not making a mistake in typing over things. Now, that's if I wanted to add a holder manually. What if I wanted to import a holder? You have multiple places that you can import holders from. You can import holders from your certificate or lien holder contacts. You can import holders as in if there are additional interest on the policies that you selected on the policy selection screen. You can also import holders from previously issued certificates of insurance for that customer. So let's go through the list. Here are my certificate holder contacts. Anyone on this list, I can import them into this form. So let me select a couple of these, and I can import those into the form. And now they're all here ready for me to go ahead and issue. And as you can see, they'll come over with the description that I saved with the holder. So all of their descriptions are here. In this case, I didn't have one for this one. But I can also import from my lien holder contacts. So I have the cert holder contacts, lien holder contacts. Then every one of the policies that were on that screen, you'll be able to click and select any additional interests that are on those policies. So here's the lien holder contacts that I can import from. And by the way, you don't have to do this section by section. You can do them all at once. So I'm going to select two here. And I'm going to go to the policy, and I have a couple of certificate holders on the policy. I'll select those. And then here are all the previously issued certificates of insurance. Just in case you did the thing where you issued one per form, you can come here and click, and you can take all of the holders off of all of the previously issued forms. There's the 2015-16. I can select all the holders from there. There's the master certificate from previously that I issued. I can select all the holders from there. And at the top, we'll tell you how many of them are going to be imported into the form. So when you click OK, all of the holders you've imported will be listed here. And again, if you're going to be sending a bulk email, all you have to do is put their email address here in the details. And every single time you import them into the renewal form, the certificate of insurance description as well as their email address will come along with it. So now when I click OK, I'm back on the form. I'm looking at holder 5 of 12. You can scroll through to make sure the description of operations is all there. Now, for those of you that have the large customers, and we're talking about the customers that have these really, really long description of operations, let me show you something. So let's just say I have a description of operations that's much too long to be handled by the field. So I'm just copying and pasting the same thing here. When you click OK and you come out to the form, it'll look like the text is being cut off. However, when you print or email the form, when we actually generate it, Catalyst will automatically generate ACORD 101, which is the supplemental form. We'll put the description on the supplemental form. So none of your information is going to be cut off. Okay? So the 101 will be automatically generated when the form gets emailed or printed, and you'll be able to see the description on the supplemental page. So now, how is it that we're going to do this emailing certificate to all these holders all at once? Well, first, let's go ahead and import a signature. Hopefully, all of you have imported your signature into QQCatalyst. If you haven't done so, you can contact our support team. They'll walk you through doing that. And in this case, I'm ready to email my form. You don't have to exit the form to email. Just select the email option here at the bottom. Give your ACORD form a name. So I'm going to call this the master form so I don't forget. Master certificate, let's say 2016, 2017. Now, once you're done naming the form, we're going to save it, and we're going to pop up all of the holders and ask you which ones would you like to send proof of insurance to. Now, what's great about this implementation is you have the option of sending emails both to all of the holders for them to get their own individual form, but also you can send one email to the customer that has all the forms in one document. So first let me select all the holders. I want to send all of them proof of insurance. By default, it says email certificates to the holders. So each certificate holder is going to get their own email for their own form. But I can also email the customer one document, one PDF that has all the certificates in it. So let me go ahead and click Save, and then the email window is going to open for me. The very first one you're looking at is the email that's going to be sent to the customer. This is the master PDF that has all the holders on it. Okay? But for each individual holder, if you click on the showing email carousel here, every one of the holders is going to get their own certificate. You're going to see their name in the upper left, as well as the copy of the certificate that's attached. That's going to be the PDF. So you can go through, because some of them don't have an email address here, you may have to type in their email address, but don't forget, we did put in the address book in the last QQCatalyst release. So if you don't have their email address, you can easily just search for it by typing. Let's just see if I can find one here, proof. And here it is, proof of insurance. And all I have to do is select the email address, or you can just type the email address and hit enter. Okay? But that's another benefit of having those emails on the contacts in Catalyst. You can start using this address book. Now what about when it comes to adding endorsements, additional insured endorsements, or documents specific to each holder? When you click on Add Attachment, you have the option of adding in a file specific to just that holder. So let's just say I'm looking for, let me find an endorsement here. Let's just say this was an additional insured endorsement that was specific to just that holder. You can select to send it to just this holder or all the holders, just in case it's a blanket additional insured endorsement. I'm going to say send this to all the holders, a blanket additional insured endorsement, and then I can say specifically to any one holder, I'd like to send this to that one holder that I'm currently on, AA or AAA custom detailer. So they're getting the deck page, they're getting an endorsement, everyone else is going to get the endorsement without the deck page. And then when you're ready to send your email, just hit send. Just in case you didn't put in an email address, we'll prompt you and tell you you need to enter an email address for one of these recipients. And that's the way you send your certificate of insurance. And you can send hundreds of these at the same time. Now, if you're not adding any information to the form and the form already exists, to email the same way, all you have to do is left click on the form, select the email option. We're going to ask you which holders you want to send proof of insurance to. You'll do the same selection, send the customer a copy as well, hit save, and it'll do the same thing. It's going to generate the multiple emails that are going to be going out to the multiple certificate holders. If you have any questions on this process, please go ahead and type your questions into the question window of the GoToWebinar panel. Again, when we enter the Q&A, I'll be happy to answer those questions for you. Now, what about the next one? What about ACORD 27? ACORD 27 is one of the ones I get a lot of questions about because it doesn't auto-populate the exact same way that the 25 does. All right, so let me open one that I already have on file, and we'll walk through how the information gets populated on the 27. For those of you who are wondering, the 27 is the evidence of insurance, property insurance form. I've seen agents use this for commercial property. I've seen them use it for homeowners, for flood personal and flood commercial. However you use it, let's go ahead and walk through populating that form. Let me use one of the older ones here. All right, so I'm going to edit the form. When you first come to the evidence of property insurance form, it's going to look like nothing populated, that nothing came over. That was done by design, and let me explain the reason for it. If you're a personal lines agency, you're typically sending evidence of insurance to the primary mortgagee, the first mortgagee, and that's all you ever send evidence of insurance for. However, we do have commercial customers that have maybe 500 locations on one policy. And to have to add one evidence of insurance form for each one of those, to have 500 was going to just be a nightmare. So we tried to implement a workflow that works for both, whether you're doing one or whether you're doing 500. So when you first come to the form, don't type information directly on the form. Click on Manage Certificate Holders. When you do, click on Add Holder or Import Holder. Once you select to add your holder, you're going to see all the locations that are insured on the policy that you're on. Okay. You put in the location, that's location 1, building 1, put in your holder information. Let's just say this is holder 1. I'm going to add another holder. Grab building 2, location 2, building 1. I'm going to call this holder 2. And you're going to do this for all the locations that you need to issue evidence of insurance for. Because again, we don't know if you're issuing it for one or if you're issuing it for many. So now when you click OK and you go back to the form, the information for the locations will automatically map over. Everything that you had into the flood insurance policy, the homeowner's policy, commercial property, commercial condo, all that information will come over for you, including anything that you would have put into the remarks or the description of operations. You type something in here, it'll automatically populate on your ACORD 27. So that's the biggest difference between the two. On the ACORD 25, we're just reflecting policy information, nothing dealing with the location. But with the evidence of insurance, it's per location, per holder. And for that reason, we need you to tell us which location goes with which holder. So whenever you click on Add or Import, again, you're going to select the location, and you'll tell us which holder belongs to that location. And the coverage information will automatically populate for you. So long as it's on the policy, it automatically populates for you. And the emailing works the exact same way as the ACORD 25. So when you go to set email, you have the option of emailing each holder as well as emailing the customer. The next thing I want to talk to you about is using QQCatalyst in advanced mode. When we first built QQCatalyst, we wanted to make sure that the agents who were using the system, when they didn't know how to do a process, Catalyst would walk them through a guided workflow showing them how to do everything. However, we know that there are a lot of advanced users out there who don't need to be walked through a guided workflow. You don't want to go step by step. You want to put all of the information in all at the same time. If that's the case, turn off the guided workflow. This is under the user preferences. For those of you who have access to the My Preferences section, you hover over your name, you go to My Preferences, turn the guided workflow off. Let me show you the difference in the amount of time it takes to do one thing with the guided workflow on versus when it's off. So let me get this saved. I'll refresh the screen. And I'm going to, let's say, add a new customer. Now this is with the guided workflow on, okay? I'm going to select the location. Let's say I'm going to add in Steve. Let's add Steven into this system. I click Next. It's going to walk me through all of the sections, but it's going to do it in a tabbed view. So step by step I'm going through and I'm putting in the basic contact information section, additional contacts, addresses, personal information. And as you can see, it just looks like I'm clicking through a bunch of tabs entering information. And for a lot of people, that's a lot of steps. Instead of having to click through every single tab, you can put Catalyst in advanced mode, which means you're not going to go through a guided workflow. We'll just put all of the sections in edit mode for you. So let me go ahead and switch this back off. And let's add another contact. All right, so this time I'm going to click on New Contact. I just get a pop-up. Let's make this training main office. Bill Brown. Put in his contact information. Once you click Add Contact, we're going to take you to the contact that was added and just have everything open in edit mode for you. So you can go through whichever sections you need to go through. You can put information into any one of the sections that you need to, and when you're done, you can just click on Save All Changes. You can do what I just did for the customer and the policy, where you can do it in advanced mode. You get the one pop-up, and you have all the sections open in edit mode, and you can put information wherever you need and just click Save, rather than having the guided workflow on. So if they're a new employee and you want them to go through the long process of step-by-step, definitely have the guided workflow on. But for everybody who wants to move rather quickly, I highly recommend that you turn the guided workflow off. All right, let's move to the next pain point I know a lot of people go through, is locations. People who add a contact in, then they go to a policy and they add locations, they need to share those locations with another policy. I highly recommend, instead of adding it to the policy itself, add the locations to the contact, and then you can import them to any one of the policies. Okay? So let's add a couple of addresses here. So I have 101 South 10th Street. I'll keep everything else the same. And let's add another one. Let's add 102 South 10th Street. And one more. Okay, so now that I've added all the locations that are dealing with my customer on the customer level, whenever I add a policy for this contact, and here's the very quick way to do it. Let me add my commercial property. When you go into the advanced mode lookup, you're going to see the location section, and every single one of the locations that is on that contact, I can import into the policy. Here's the location schedule, select import, and there are the 3 locations I added on the customer. And now they're all on the policy without me having to type in the same information twice. So as much information as you can enter on the customer level, do that, including things like employees. So if there's ever a section where employees can be imported into a policy, you won't have to type in the same thing twice, including wherever you see drivers, by the way. Personal auto drivers, commercial auto drivers, anyone you listed as a contact, additional contact, employee, they can be imported into those driver sections. So you definitely want to put as much information on the contact as possible. All right, the next thing is dealing with X dates. We actually did this for our commercial contacts, but for those of you who also use X dates for personal, we highly recommend that you start using the advancing feature of your X dates. I'm going to come down to this X date section. Now, there are different definitions for X dates. It all depends on how your agency works. The X date can be the expiration date of the policy I'm hoping to secure. So I have the person's personal auto. The homeowner's is coming up in December, and I'm going to put in a December X date because that's when the homeowner's expires. Or it can be the date in which the customer told me to contact them for a line of business I don't have. All right, so however you define it, just make sure you use the correct date parameters when you put the information in. If the X date is approaching expiration and you're not going to get it, and you would like Catalyst to remind you again the following term, all you have to do is click on this little forward spinning arrow button. You click that, we're going to advance that X date to the following term, and now in 2017, it'll come back up again as a policy that I need to approach. I have this one for February 29, 2016. I'm going to advance that one to the following term as well. So I'm going to have to come back and get back at that policy at a later time. So it's just going to keep advancing it and advancing it and advancing it until it finds the latest date for you to pursue that business again. The same thing is true when you're on the dashboard widget, by the way. The X date widget has the same functionality. Just in case you have an X date that's passed already and you want to go back after it because you didn't get a chance to get it, just click on that forwarding arrow and it'll move it to the next possible date for you to go after it again. So if it was a 6-month policy, it'll advance it 6 months. If it was an annual policy, it'll advance it a year. Or if it's a monthly policy, it'll advance it to the following month. All right, let's move to the very next one. I get a lot of questions and a lot of feedback concerning commercial contacts and why we don't allow for customers to put in a cell phone on the business. So let's talk about that for a minute. Prior to, I think it was QQCatalyst version 2.5, I believe it was, we allowed you to put whatever phone number you wanted in this basic contact info section for commercial contacts. What we got as the biggest number of complaints was, it's great that you let me put all these phone numbers here, but I can't put in who the phone numbers belong to. And so people were looking for a way to just give me some field over here for me to write in somebody's name. But the biggest complaint we got from that is, what if the person had multiple phone numbers? And why would I have to put in the person's phone number multiple times and write their name in multiple times? If I need to delete the person, I'd have to delete them 5 different times because I put in 5 different phone numbers for them. And so after speaking to a bunch of the agencies and getting a consensus, we came to the consensus that a business does not have a cell phone. Businesses have an office number. They have a fax number, a customer service line, an IT line. You know, they have a billing center. But the cell phones, even though the business owns the number, someone in that business has that cell phone number. Whoever's answering that phone, that's the person that the cell phone belongs to. So instead what we did is we gave you the primary numbers that a business typically has. By the way, if there's one that we're missing in here, we'll be happy to add another one to the list. Just send it to us through the feedback. We'll add the additional ones here in this list. Instead what we did was we gave you the business contact section where you can put in who the contact is and all of their contact information, including what cell phone numbers as well as what email addresses belong specifically to them, not the business. Okay? Because when you're sending a text message, I'm hoping that you're sending a text message to a person and not just to a general business number. Either the owner has it or the vice president has it, the treasurer has it, the secretary, someone owns that cell phone. So if you put the phone number on the person instead of the business, you'll be able to do everything like sending text messages to the person. So that's the primary reason. I get that question probably more often. Our product management department, when we go through the feedback, we see so much feedback concerning this, but that's the reason behind it. If somebody in that office has that cell phone, whoever that person is, make sure that cell phone number is put here underneath their business contact. All right, and the last thing I wanted to cover with you guys today is quick email. It's called QuickSend right now. Don't worry. There are a lot of people that say, well, what does QuickSend mean? We're going to relabel that to email. But the reason we had that as QuickSend is because we had two different ways that you could send emails in the system. You hover over print email, and you select print email, but then we didn't want to put another option here that said email because it would be confusing. I just want to make sure you all know in the future, in the very near future, we're getting rid of the email option that's in this print email workflow. The print email is going to be gone. It's just going to be print, and whenever you want to send an email, you're going to either click on email, which is what this option is going to be, or you're going to go to whatever file you want to email or whatever ACORD form you want to email, and you're going to be able to send an email directly from the file or email, or you can click new email down from the doc. Okay? Now, I want to make sure you know that aside from right now, the reason that we're not doing it right now is we don't know which policy the email is going to be in reference to just yet. We haven't added the ability to select the policy, and that's the one thing you can do in the email workflow that you can't do here. So until that time comes, you're still going to have the print email option, but everything that you're going to be doing once we get done with the print the email workflow, you're going to hover over and you're going to see print and you're going to see email, and there's nothing that you'll be able to do in the email workflow that you wouldn't be able to do also here. One of the things that I was told people didn't know we did was we added the templates directly into your email window now. You don't have to go through the workflow to select the template. It's right here. So if you have a template about cancellations or renewals or, I mean, a birthday, you can select that directly on the screen and it'll auto-populate with all the merge field information. Okay? So again, the only thing that we're waiting for right now is to give you the ability to select a policy to make sure that your policy merge fields populate correctly. But aside from that, everything else that you can do in the email workflow, you can do in this quick email window. You don't have to go through a workflow and click on 5 different steps. You can do it directly from this window. And we're hoping that that can save you guys a lot of time. All right, well, that concludes everything that I needed to cover with you guys for the best practices when it came to QQCatalyst. The very last thing I probably want to mention is I do get questions often from agents on why we have to have pending policies in QQCatalyst. If you're a personal lines agency, pending policies may mean absolutely nothing to you at all. You typically write a policy, you get it quoted, you write it, and that's it. However, we do have agencies that sell a heavy amount of commercial insurance, which means that you're going to be putting in the policy information first. You're going to be putting in the locations, drivers, vehicles, coverage information. Then you have to submit ACORD applications to get a quote. Now, you need some place to hold all of that rating information before the policy becomes active. That's the reason that we call them pending policies. So you submit your applications for your quote, you get your quote, you bind the policy, and then you issue it in Catalyst to tell us that that policy is now active. Okay? So for those of you who are the personal lines agencies, that's the reason that we have the pending policies in there. Just in case somebody calls you and says, hey, you know, I want a quote, you can put in all the rating information on a pending policy for personal auto, and when you sell it, you'll just make it active, or you can just wait for downloads to come through and make the policy active for you.